In this video, we're going to be attacking the PortSwigger Academy Broken Brute Force Protection IP Block Lab. So this lab is vulnerable due to a logic flaw in its password brute force protection. To solve the lab, brute force the victim's password, then log in and access their account page. So we have our credentials here, which is Wiener and Peter. We also have the victim username, which is Carlos, and we have a list of candidate passwords, which we can go ahead and copy out here. Let's go ahead and spin up our lab. So since this is an authentication vulnerability, we're going to look at our login form. Let's try logging in with our actual credentials, which was Wiener and Peter. If we log in, we see our username is Wiener, and we can change our email if we want to. Burp Suite, we have this My Account ID Wiener page, which kind of signals that we were able to log in. We also have this post login request, which contains our username and our password in it. Let's take a closer look at this guy right here. So let's send this one to repeater, and let's try our regular credentials. So if we send it, we get a 302 found, and we have My Account ID Wiener. What happens if we put in the wrong password? So let's send, we get a 200 OK. If we render the page out, we see we get an incorrect password error. Okay, cool. We know that the lab has an IP block on it, and one of the most common ways to block IPs is after failed login attempts. So let's try to kind of stress test this a little bit and see how many times we can try to log in before it kicks us out. So if we send again, we get incorrect password. If we send again, we get incorrect password. If we send again, now we've made too many incorrect login attempts and we have to try again in 1 minute. Try to log in with the correct username now and the correct password, and we get a 302. Now let's try to log in with an incorrect login. We get incorrect password. So the lockout is dependent on how many consecutive incorrect attempts are made. And so if we were to layer in our actual password and actual username amongst the attempts that we're making, we can essentially bypass this IP block feature. In order to get around that, we're going to layer in our valid credentials between all of the attempts that we're making for Carlos. What do I mean by that? So if we go over to our notepad, we have a list of passwords. We also have a blank list here. So what we're going to do is we are going to make a list of usernames. So we want to start off with correct or valid credentials, right? We would want to say Wiener, and then we would want to try for Carlos. And then we would say Wiener, and we would want to try for Carlos. And this way, we don't ever hit that counter. We just continuously reset after every valid entry. So let's go ahead and let's copy this here. And let's go until we get to 200. We have 100 entries for our password list, and so we need equal amount of usernames. Now, because we have 100 passwords, we want 200 entries because we're going to have to put valid credentials in between the 100 passwords that we have. Now, let's go over to our password list and let's modify this so that every other entry is a correct entry, resetting the IP block. So if we Control A and Control F, we can go over to Replace, and we can look for our /n character. And what that is a new line. So every time we see a new line, that's going to be what we're looking for in this section here. So from /n, we want to layer in Peter between all of these entries. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down here and we're going to say replace with Peter /n. And if we hit replace all, now it gives us Peter and then the password we're trying to fuzz. Peter, password we're trying to fuzz. So let's actually shift this down a bit and put another Peter at the top. We want it to align with our username list. So because we're starting off with Wiener here, we want to start off with Peter here. Now we can see that every other entry as we go down is Peter. There we are. And we have about 200 on the username list as well. Okay, so now that we have our lists, we can actually throw these into Burp Suite and we can try them out and see if we can get something. So let's go over into Burp Suite. Let's send this request to intruder. We're going to select a pitchfork attack. And what a pitchfork attack is we allocate a payload set to each position, and intruder iterates through each set in parallel. Now, the thing about this is that we need to make sure that we're only doing one concurrent request at a time, and that will allow us to send the requests to the server in the correct order. So if we go over to our resource pool and go down to maximum concurrent requests and set that to 1, that will ensure that everything is in the right order. Go back to payloads. Let's set our 2 positions. Put in a payload position for our username and our password. Okay, now that we have 2 payload positions, let's go ahead and let's set this up on the right side here in the payload side panel. So under payload position, we have number 1, and we're going to use a simple list, and we're going to paste in that list that we made in our notepad. Copy that over and paste. And so we have 200. Now let's go over to our second payload, and let's copy in our password list. Wonderful. And so that should be pretty much everything that we need to do. So when we start the attack, we have these status codes here. Now, if we look at Wiener and Peter, we're getting 302s. If we're looking at Carlos and the second payload, we're getting 200s. Now, again, if we look at the response and we render it out, it's going to say incorrect password for all the 200s. And this is going to be a redirect over to the login page. So since we differentiated between what a valid sign-in looks like versus what an incorrect password sign-in looks like, let's look for the Carlos entry with the valid sign-in. So what we're doing is we're looking for Carlos with a status code of 302. Eventually, you get a 302. We see that that is the only one that came out as a 302. All the rest are 200s. If we look at the response, we see 302 found, my account ID Carlos. So we should be able to log in with this set of credentials. So Carlos and Ranger. So if we go back over to our login form and we log out as Wiener and we log in as Carlos, we have successfully logged in as Carlos. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see ya.